Hello ladies and gentlemen, God's Woodsman here for you. Today I'm going to teach you on how to use an axe, coming up. Hi, before I get into how to use an axe, let me show you the axe I use and talk about it just for a couple minutes. When you're back in the backcountry and you're backpacking, you're not going to be able to carry a chainsaw, a big huge axe. What I recommend is a small forest axe. This one's about 20 inches long, only weighs about 2.5 pounds, so it's fairly lightweight. It's made by Granfors Brooks, which is a Sweden company. Very, very high quality axe. It is a little bit on the pricier side, but if you can't afford it, it's definitely worth the money. When you're carrying an axe in the mountains, make sure you have a good sheath on it. You don't want to cut up your pack, because an axe properly maintained is razor sharp. And I'll show you in a later video on how to sharpen your axe just razor sharp at home, most likely because you'd use like large bench stones, but how to keep it razor sharp. When you're in the mountains, there's a couple things we want to make sure we don't do. We don't want any accidents. We don't want anybody going to the hospital. When you take your sheath off, don't just toss it on the ground. What I usually do is either do one or two things. Put it in my backpack, or put it in one of my pockets in the side of my pants. Usually in my pocket, because that way I can put it on even if I'm back in somewhere. If you're going to fell a tree, let's make sure that it is good and sharp. If you are going to cut down a tree. If you're just splitting, it's not as critical. But if you are going to cut down a tree, I showed in an earlier video just how to touch up your edge. And you can go ahead and do that. It only takes a couple minutes, and it'll make it a lot easier in the long run when you're felling a tree. If you're splitting wood, there's a few basic ways you can do it coming up. Now, let's talk about how to use an axe. First of all, let's talk about a couple little safety things. First of all, with a short axe like this, most of the time you're going to want to be kneeling down to use it. And the reason for that is, it really is true that the longer the axe handle, the safer the axe. Because this size axe handle, if you're standing up, it's very easy for it to come into your leg. You don't want that to happen. And if it was a lot longer axe handle, it'd be a lot easier for it just to go into the ground. We're going to try to make sure it doesn't go into our leg. And with a short handle like this, the easiest way to take care of that is just kneel down. That way, if we miss, it either goes into wood or into the turf or into the ground. So, first of all, let's show you a couple splitting techniques. When you're splitting a piece of wood, if you don't have a nice chopping block, because if you're back in the mountains you probably won't, and yeah, you can spend all the time to make one, but I just recommend using a fallen tree. The bigger, the flatter surface you can get. If you're going to be here for a long time, sometimes I'll chop a little section out and make it a little flatter, but I'm not going to be here that long, so I won't do that. Set your piece of wood here. Try to find where there's already a crack in it. You might as well go with the fault line that's already in the wood. Set that there. Take your axe and you're going to come down in a downward motion, and you keep your handle pretty high. Don't have your handle like this, so you're going to keep it in a downward motion, and as you hit the log, you're also going to spread like this off to the side. Make it a nice, smooth, it's a nice fast motion, just like this. Now if you notice, my axe never even hit the log. It just hit this. So you just set it up again. Now, that's no big deal. Everybody can split wood, right? And you can split this a lot smaller if you want. And as you get smaller and smaller and smaller, you just keep splitting down, and eventually you get nice small stuff. Your nice small kindling. The other thing you can do is if you get the axe kind of wedged in a piece, take the axe and kind of pry it sideways, and it kind of uses like a lever, pries it apart. The other thing you can do, when you get into a little bit smaller piece and you're not really trying to go at it, you take the axe, set it on the piece of wood, just set it there. Lift the piece of wood and bring the axe down together. Well, maybe. After you get it like that, just tap it. So you just kind of just barely get the axe started, and then just, you can do that too, especially when you get to the smaller pieces. You don't need to make a big huge blow, and you also don't need to try to balance this little bitty piece. So just set it there. You can choke way up on the axe, set it there, downward motion, right through. Couple minutes, now we got kindling. Another thing, let's go ahead and show you, is, let's say you got something more like this, or it's got branches all over it like this. Well, we're going to use basically some of the same principles. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to keep our hands higher than the axe, so we're also going to keep our hands on the opposite side of the axe, so don't be, sticking your hands down here and then chopping. So stick your hand up here. You still want to have something, so if the axe misses, it's going to go into this. I see people set this on a rock and then start beating at it. Really good way to make somebody really mad, especially with an expensive axe. And with something like this, take the axe and you're almost going to run it along the log, and you're just going to clean off the sticks. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip the log over. Same thing again. And if it's something small like this, a lot of times you don't need to hold it all the way down here. Choke up a little bit. Now, with something like this, you can actually split this and make this into really nice kindling. And that's really handy. And what you're going to do is you're going to see if you can find any kind of a crack or fault line in the wood. You're going to take your axe, stick it in that fault line, take the butt of the axe, and put it right here at the handle. So those are actually lined up together. So you're going to put it like this, and then you're going to bring both of them at the same time, simultaneously, down on the log. Right through. There we go. You can kind of just wiggle the axe down. And I just split a chunk of wood 2 feet long with an axe. Nothing else. And you can sometimes use this to split a little bit larger stuff if you want to make a little bit flatter of a surface, whatever. It's really good for kindling also. And you can keep doing it. Just set the axe, downward motion, nice and hard, together. Oops. Helps if you leave it on there. Just wiggle its way down. And if it breaks off like that, you can just switch and go to the other end. Depends on how knotty the wood that you have is. Nice small little stuff. Works really good, and you can just keep doing it smaller and smaller and smaller. It doesn't take very much effort. I mean, nice little small stuff. It's very safe, very efficient, because you're not using a lot of energy. And you can just keep doing it. A couple other things. I'm going to show you in a minute on how to fell a tree. I'm going to touch up the edge real quick before I do that. I'm also going to fell dead timber, not live timber. Be careful when you're using this. Don't use it at night when it's dark. Don't use it when you're real tired. We don't want any accidents, because you can very seriously injure yourself with an axe like this. Now, on to felling. Alright, this is the dead standing tree I decided to fell. This is a dead aspen. And aspens have a tendency for all the branches to fall off, as they get older and as they're dead. So the branches fall off fairly easily. So what I usually do in the beginning is I smack the butt of my axe a couple of good times against the back, kind of smack it hard and move off a little bit, and then smack it hard and move off a little bit. Just so whatever branches fall don't hit you. Or when you first start chopping, just kind of keep your head down. Don't be looking up or anything. What we're going to do first is look at the direction you want the tree to fall. I'm wanting it to fall back in this direction. It's kind of down this hill. Believe it or not, I'm actually on a very steep hill. And what we're going to do is you're going to cut a notch first here, probably about 3/4 of the way into the tree. And with aspen, it won't take me very long. And this, you can go a much bigger tree with this size axe. We're just doing this for demonstration. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring the axe in, and I'm going to bring it in on a pretty good angle. Not too steep, because then it'll ricochet off. So just about like that. Okay, after a couple good hits, 2 or 3 hits this way, I'm going to come up on an angle. And for this size, see all the branches falling down? For this size tree, I'm going to cut probably about an 8-inch notch. Not too big. I could hear that branch up there. I was waiting for that to come down and hit me. Okay, after we get it to this point, that's pretty close to 3/4 of the way. Oh, a little winded. We're going to come on this side and go just slightly higher, more like up in here. And the reason we're going to go slightly higher is because when this tree falls, it's not that big of a deal with this small of a tree. But you get into a larger tree, if you don't have a piece of material that's coming up this way, when that tree falls, it'll tend to want to kick back. And if you're standing back here, it'll clean you out. A lot of loggers got really bad hurt doing stuff like that. So we're going to chop here now. And when I get it most of the way, I probably won't keep chopping it until it falls. I'll probably move the camera so you can see, and I'll push it. So just going to chop a little bit on this side, just a little higher, about right in here. See, told you they'd hit you. Oh, here it goes. Right exactly where I wanted it to go. This right here kept the tree from kicking back. This part here is the part you need. So notch, a little higher, and just falls. This has been God's Woodsman on how to use an axe. Thank you so much for watching. Please like my video, share it, and if you have ideas for future videos, please leave a comment. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.